Simon Davis with It's a Fencer's Life, Lessons from the Trenches.
G'day again, guys. Welcome back. 2023. This is January 25th, first potty for the year. This is a Fencer's Life, Lessons from the Trenches, and I wanted to start today by saying I've been called a few things in my life, but fearmonger has never been one of them until just recently. Let me explain. Put a post on the Facebook site last week, just talking about a few things, and the reaction I got was probably not the one that I was thinking of. Let me just tell you what it was. I'll just share this here. So the question that I said, okay, there seems to be a glut of work around, and also a heap of new faces and early and easy startups around the place. There's so much work happening in our areas because of a lot of things. We've had floods, we've had COVID, we've had fires. There's so much happening. There's so much money floating around. The government's giving out so much money to rectify a lot of things. This has caused a few things. It's caused for us a work shortage, and it's also caused not a work shortage, so a work shortage of people. There is very hard to find good blokes at the moment, and that's making a big difference. And I don't know what's happening there, but it's one of those things that is quite difficult that we're looking for. But talking to and seeing some of the trends that we've had around the area over the years, talking to our American friends, inflation's hitting them pretty hard at the moment, and they've started to slow down. They're also in the grip of a winter that is for them is savage, because they have a 3-foot frost zone that they have to sort of work through, and some of those blokes are not working at all. Some push through it. I wouldn't like to be working in freezing temperatures, that's for sure, but some of them do. But yeah, some of the things that I've noticed over the years and the trends, and it happens in cycles. So I posted this this post just saying, just some food for thought. Things might slow down. I don't think it will be this year, possibly next year, but it will happen. Will definitely happen. So I wanted to, have a look at what's sort of happening around the place and what's sort of going on. So one of those things that I did look at was the trends that we found over the years. And one of these things with fluctuations of business. So I've been around long enough to have seen this. I grew up in the 70s when my dad was a fencer, the 80s when interest rates were hitting 18%, and what it done to the fencing game and the building game then, and how much people struggled. I looked at again in, I think it was 2004, 2005, maybe 2003, with the stimulus packages were rolled out because things were tight. So there was a lot of, I think that's when a lot of the school work started sort of happening with the stimulus packages and getting the schools up to scratch. There was a lot of money the government threw back then. 2008, 2009, when the GFC hit and everything crashed again, people started tightening their belts up again. Again, recently, when COVID took off, we all know everybody, a lot of people were out of work. There was some fencers that were out of work. For me, it didn't affect my side of things because we were classed doing both rural fencing and residential fencing, I know a lot of the resi fences around my area all stopped, and I was not real sure why they stopped, because security fencing, security and livestock containment was classified as critical workers. So we basically kept working all the way through. It didn't really affect us. I just stayed out of the residential areas for a bit, but the security side of things kept us sort of going, and the livestock containment. So that was good for us. And then again, when the floods hit, or just before COVID, actually, the bushfires hit. So once they went right through the East Coast, there was so much work there floating about to rectify all the fences that were burnt out. And then COVID hit, as I said, and then last year we had the massive floods up and down. So when I put this post up, it was, my thought process was this. Things happen, they go in cycles. We have a lot of good times, and then sometimes we have some bad times. And when that does happen, one of the things that I want to sort of talk about on that side of things was, I didn't mean this to be put the wind up anybody and scare people into submission or whatever. The basis of that comment was, there's ways around it. When things go quiet, what do you do to prepare your business? And if you know things are going to go quiet in the future, and they will, like the government has to stop throwing money at us. It will happen. The inflation rates have already gone up in Australia. They've gone up 8 times in a row. And according to the lady who was talking about I think she was on a current affair here about a month ago and talking about the inflation rates, and she said there's never been 9 in a row. And if you follow the charts, and I was having a look at the charts earlier, it's not as high as it was in the 60s, and it's sort of come back down a little bit. And in the 70s and 80s, it went up really, really high. But what it means for a basic, a basic mortgage holder who's paying off $1,200 a month now of his home loan on a $500,000 home loan. This is just an example. $500,000 home loan, paying $1,200 off. The last increase in inflation puts the mortgage payments up $831. I think she said off the top of my head it was 813 or 831, something like that. Now, my point being is this: if you're a basic wage earner and you're paying $1,200 now, and it goes up to another $800, you're paying over $2,000, but your wage hasn't gone up. Where does things start to tighten up? And this is my point for the fences, especially maybe in the residential area. Maybe the farmers might even do it too if they start to tighten up. But if mums and dads in suburbia have to find another $800 a month off their mortgage, and they're paying car loans, they'd be paying phones off, they'd be doing all this other stuff, what stops? And I can guarantee you one of the first things that will stop will be the wants and needs. So if they're building a new house, I know I've talked to other fencers already who are looking to build and have been trying to build a house for a couple of years, and they've just held off, and a few things have held off. And one has been the scarcity of materials. It's been very scarce since COVID hit, because everybody went absolutely crazy. And the second thing is, now he said they just can't afford to pay the increase in the material prices that have gone up with everything else. And now with the actual mortgage payments, they're struggling to keep on top of those things. So just at the moment, they'll hold off building again for a bit longer, and then they'll work out something down the track. So that's straight away I looked at that and thought, well, mums and dads are going to do the same. If they've got a fence that's falling over, it's been falling over for 20 years or the last 10 years it's been leaning over, they're not going to go and spend $2,000, $3,000 on a fence, or $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever on a fence, when it means they can put it into their mortgage or wait for things to settle down. And it's just an observation. It's just my opinion. I think I'm pretty spot on the mark with that, but things will turn around and settle down again. On the flip side of it, at the moment, there is so much, as I said, there's so much work around. The government's throwing so much money at everybody to get in and get things fixed up and everything else. And even here, I'm based in Lismore, New South Wales, where we had the devastating flood, and there's that much work around here, not just doing insurance work, but and flood work, because a lot of these people actually weren't even insured. So some were, some weren't, but it's made it very difficult for a lot of people, and they're scratching to try and get things fixed. But there's new estates going in, and there's fencing going in sort of everywhere, and we've been quite fortunate to pick up some relocation works for schools and for public works that have had to move their businesses elsewhere, and private businesses that have had to sort of tidy things up and get things sort of moving. And it comes out of the businesses hip pockets for some parts, that they don't have, as I said, they don't have that insurance money, so they've got to find money to replace a fence that's been flood damaged or broken or pushed away, and grass all the way up through it, and it's made things hard for them, but it's been good for some people have benefited out of it, and I've been lucky enough to be one of them. But I'm smart enough to know it's got to run out. That it will eventually run out. One of the other things I know as well here in my exact area, is it's hard to get workers. There doesn't seem to be anybody around who wants to get out and have a go, especially the young ones these days. I'm not speaking generally over the whole board, not everybody, but there's not a lot of young fellas coming through our industries now who want to get in and have a crack at doing some physical stuff. And the builders I've talked to are having the same issue. They can't find gents to get in and help at different times. Truck drivers are becoming scarce as well. That I've talked to concrete plants that can't get drivers. It's just seems to be an ongoing thing at the moment. A lot of the clients that I talk to that are ringing up and still wanting to do quotes at the moment, that hasn't, the phones haven't stopped ringing yet for quotes. So that's a good sign for me. Pardon me. But as I said, in America, from the conversations I've had with a couple of the bigger players over there, it has started to take effect for them. Not completely, but it has slowed some of the smaller ones down, and the bigger ones who are already sort of reputable have they're sort of riding the wave, and they've still got plenty of work on. So it's just something that to keep in mind will possibly happen over here, and it generally does. From some of the conversations that I've had, even in the off that chat the other day, were New Zealand are doing the same. They're starting to slow in different areas. Now, I've talked to, as I said, some of the fences in WA and who are going over there, and turn around and they're talking to me about how winter, it's like winter is coming. It doesn't affect us here in Australia. No, we don't. We don't have a frost zone over here. Nothing like that does affect us, and we have had natural disasters, so there is plenty of work available at the moment, and still a lot happening with the wild dog fencing and exclusion fencing out there. There's heaps of contracts that are floating around in that sense. If you're into that sort of that type of fencing and traveling around and moving about. So there is still a lot of stuff that is happening out there. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. My whole point being is, when do you stop and start looking at your business long term and thinking where you need to be? And it brings me to the point of one of the things that I wish I knew 20 years ago when I started was the marketing side of it and the branding. And Grant Cardone, famous, probably the best marketer in the world at the moment. He's over everything: videos, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. Once you Google him up, you flood your feeds forever. But he markets and brands himself very well. He has full-time people who do it all for him, of course, because as fencers, it's hard for us to try and do what we do podcasts or run our business, get out on the tools, do what we have to do. But he said he would, if he could market, if he had his time over again, he would market. That's the first thing. It's getting your name out there and becoming the authority in your area. Basically shores up a lot of misgivings that might happen and shortages of work down the track. And it's quite simple when you think about it. If you know things are going to slow down and it's going to happen, and it might not happen now, and marketing is not a quick fix, throw an ad out, get more work in. It just doesn't happen that way. It might for a tiny little bit, but there's no longevity in that. But if you're branding continuously and constantly getting your name out there, and I come from the age when there was no internet, so no mobile phones, and I've grown through that, no computers. So all our marketing and branding was, cards and flyers and letterbox drops and putting your name out and your cards in petrol stations and running the old ads in the Telegraph paper or in your local papers. So that's how we did it. Signage on your uniforms, all that sort of stuff. But we did a lot like that. You don't see that anymore, as in the flyers and things. Very, very rarely do you see the people walking around dropping letterbox drops with your name and number and a flyer saying this is what you do in your local area, or canvassing the area, I suppose. And it's still a good way to do that if you're actually starting to quiet down. Is run a flyer up, and if you're going to do a quote on one house, hit that area, hit 4 or 5 houses either side of the road and up next door and the other side, and drop I'm in this area on this date, and if you're interested, we can do a job. So that's one good way of working that out. But my whole basis of the comments was, if you know something's going to happen, and it will, start preparing now, and you won't be caught out. It's as simple as that. So that's it for me today. I just wanted to clarify that. So welcome back to 2023. I'll be starting to do these podcasts a bit more regular again now. I just had a bit of a break and back into work. Everything's flat out again at the moment, so things will be very good. But I hope everybody has a cracking year. I hope you don't run out of work, and I hope you start putting a few things into place that when things do get quiet, you can ride the wave like the rest of us. Okay, take it easy and stay safe out there.
Thanks again for listening to the Fencer's Life Podcast. Be sure to follow on Twitter, Instagram, or the free Facebook group, The Fence Posts. And of course, Simon's personal Facebook, facebook.com/Simon M. Davis 1. And also check out Spotify to get weekly episodes. If you believe Simon can help you make a difference in your fencing business, please reach out to him on Messenger or visit his coaching mentoring site at theprofitablefencer.com. Until then, stay safe and happy fencing.